Are you frustrated with your timing and feel for rhythm? It's a very common misconception that the topics of timing and rhythm only apply to rhythm guitar playing and to riffs. All the impressive technique skills and cool scales that you learned won't really help if you're constantly struggling with playing in time. Your shredding also absolutely has to be tight and in time, because your audience will be able to tell if you're just playing random, non-existent note values as fast as possible all the time, just like I tried to demonstrate it in the intro performance. I want to show you a really helpful exercise and practice concept today, one of the absolute best kept secrets of achieving an amazing feel for rhythm as fast as possible. This will help you with becoming a tight and reliable guitarist that everybody loves to work with. Let's do this! Let's talk about breaking free from restrictive patterns and groupings today. Most players think of boring rhythm exercises when it comes to improving your timing. What I want to show you today is actually incredibly exciting and practical. When I say the word triplets, you probably think of a pattern like that. So far so good, this would be a correct definition, of course. So to work on playing triplets in time, you would probably play this pattern to a metronome until your notes line up with the accents of the click. This is a great and really simple way of learning and understanding triplets at the beginning. The big danger with that, however, is that you always rely on these accents on the first note of each group of 3. So you always tend to think and count like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and the first note is either the lowest in the pattern or the highest. So you never learn to move freely across the entire fretboard. You always have to base your ideas around those same old patterns. Of course, this way of thinking will greatly restrict your creativity, and it's one of the most neglected topics when it comes to timing and rhythm, in my personal opinion. The same goes for 16th notes in groups of 2 with pentatonic licks, for example. And for groups of 4 with classic exercises like that one. So how do you break free from these boring patterns while still playing tight and in time? And how do you really feel the pulse of the note values that you're playing instead of just feeling the amount of notes that you play on each string? To start out with this incredibly important topic, I'd suggest the following exercise. For this one you're working with triplets, but you're playing groups of 4 instead of the usual groups of 3. The accents are shifting that way and it immediately sounds more interesting, but of course I also added an extra level of challenge to this idea. The pattern has 4 variations and you always start 1 note earlier with the next repetition. Let's listen to the exercise together before we discuss it in detail. As always, you can download the tabs, guitar profiles and really helpful backing tracks for this exercise on patreon.com/BERNTH. We have around 2000 active members in this Red Guitar community already, and this is the perfect place for you to improve your guitar skills on a weekly basis. So make sure to join us over there today to get started. Let's quickly discuss the most important technique factors when it comes to this exercise before we move to the timing benefits. First of all, you're alternate picking throughout the entire exercise, so you always move from a downstroke to an upstroke to a downstroke, upstroke and so on. So you never have 2 downstrokes or 2 upstrokes in a row. That is extremely important right here, and I want you to focus on keeping the correct picking pattern. It will feel pretty weird at first because the string transitions are always changing, but that's part of the exercise. Secondly, your left hand fingers should move individually, and I don't really recommend pressing down with your index finger the entire time. This of course helps with developing all your fingers further and also your hand synchronization, so there are multiple great benefits with this workout if you practice smart. The final technique aspect might be the most important one. Of course, your fingers should remain as close to the fretboard as possible. As always, you definitely want to avoid that flying pinky finger, and the motion should be as small, economic and relaxed as possible. If you keep all these technique factors in mind while practicing, you will also make some significant progress in that field aside from working on your timing skills. Quick and important reminder. I'm very happy to report that we have over 200,000 amazing subscribers on this channel already. All of them get notified whenever there's a new upload, and of course that really helps. A lot of the material that I post is closely connected, so you end up missing a lot of videos without a subscription. So make sure to finally join us today and become a real part of this guitar community right now. Let's move to the very important timing and rhythm aspect of the exercise now. This exercise might sound really confusing at first, but there's a method to the madness. Let me show you the first pattern that you're playing in the exercise right now. Of course, you can just practice this one for a while before you move to all its variations. The very interesting detail right here is that you're playing repeating groups of 4 notes, like with 16th notes or 8th notes, but you're actually playing triplets. It might take some time until you get used to playing like that, but it's your very first step towards much more freedom with your phrasing. In case you never played anything like that before, I want you to remember from today's video that you don't always have to play groups of 3 with triplets, or groups of 2 with 8th notes, or groups of 4 with 16th notes and so on. As soon as you start experimenting with something more interesting, like playing groups of 4 with triplets or groups of 5 with 16th notes, for example, you will suddenly come up with some really interesting licks, riffs and ideas in general. The big picture with all of this is completely breaking free from repeating patterns like that whenever you want to, and to really just feel the note value that you're playing and the pulse of the music instead of the amount of notes that you're playing on each string and patterns and all that stuff. This is a really big challenge, of course, but it really pays off to work on this, and it's one of my favorite practice concepts right now. Now let's discuss what happens with the second repetition of the exercise. As you can see, we start the pattern 1 note early and keep looping it until we move to the next variation. This is especially tricky because the picking pattern turns around now, since you're playing 3 notes on the higher string before you move to the lower string instead of 4 notes. Your ears will also have to adapt to this, of course, since you will be used to the first variation by now. Okay, so let's move on to the third variation right now. Once again, I applied the exact same idea and started 1 note early compared to the second variation. The picking pattern turns around once more concerning the string transitions, and of course the accents are shifting once again. I think you got a feeling for this system by now. Let's check out the final variation as well. So for this final variation, I only have 1 note on the B string before I move to the G string. Once again, we also have a different string transitioning pattern, and the accents are shifting again, of course. This pretty tricky and mind-warping exercise is not about speed at all, so you don't have to practice it fast. Of course, it's much more about accuracy and control, and it's really tough to play through the entire exercise without losing yourself in all those different patterns. This will really help with developing your feeling for timing and rhythm much further, and of course it will also really help with developing your fingers and ears to be able to play and hear interesting and odd patterns. Make sure to download the really helpful tabs, guitar profiles and backing tracks I made especially for you on patreon.com/BERNTH. Of course, it's much more fun to work on this with backing tracks than just with a metronome. And you can also send me personal messages on Patreon in case you have any questions about this exercise or about anything else we discussed on the channel so far. Please let me know in the comments if you will include this really awesome concept in your practice sessions from now on. Don't forget to leave a like in case you learned something new today, and also make sure to subscribe to become a real part of this guitar community. I will hopefully see you again in the next video. All the best and have a lot of fun practicing until then.